Final question of the night before we give them their closing statement. Closing statements, of course, are going to run from Dave all the way up to Laura Lee that way. And this is a good one. Always end on a doozy. How do you plan to address Ontario's crippling debt? You're first.
I'm very happy to get this question. We saw under Mike Harris what happens when you cut. We need to continue to invest in things like our schools, our electrical grid. We don't want our hospitals. We don't want to see these things worn down and then take years to bring back up to snuff. As a school board trustee, I became a trustee. I ran for office when Mike Harris was ruining our schools. And I saw what happened. A hole in the roof, there was no money to fix it, so it ended up leaking into the walls, and we had years and years of prohibitive to repair schools. Schools that were left to rot, and that we had to now replace the whole school. So when you're left with a government that wants to cut, you have to think about what that does long term. So the Liberal plan is about making strategic investments that help grow the economy. So when you look at our plan for free preschool that builds on all-day kindergarten, it's not just a pie-in-the-sky dream, it actually builds on what we've already done. That will put more women into the workforce. And for every dollar that's spent in things like daycare and preschool, it's a spin-off of $2.5 to the economy, and that's how we pay off the debt, by those strategic investments that pay off over the long run.
Well, when you're in a hole, the first thing you do is you stop digging. And the Liberal is to borrow more. And so we know that's obviously not going to work if we're trying to pay off the debt. And they call it care, and they call it investments. But care is really trying to figure out what is right for people in the long term. And what we need in the long term is we need to preserve our ability to pay for the social services and supports that we all deserve and that we need. And we can't do that if we're taking on more and more debt and paying more and more in interest expense. It is crowding out our ability to provide the services that we need. And that's why it's important to stop borrowing and to stop taking on debt that we don't need. We are in a period of we've had a bit of economic growth, but when the economy goes down, and if interest rates go up, this debt is going to cost us even more. And the Liberals are planning to just take on more. We are now at $311 billion. We each owe $21,000 in debt.
Thank you.
As we well know, in the last 15 years, the debt of Ontario has grown with about $200 billion. Why? This is probably due to infrastructure spending from the Liberal side. Why don't they allow private sector to step in? Why do they protect those monopoly that much? I don't know.
David?
I wish I had the problem. You know, the Trillium Party is not going to be the ruling party in this election. I mean, that's a reality. But let me give you a little idea how much debt we've got. At $312 billion, you take a $1 bill, which is 6 inches long. Okay, and we're going to start going end to end for $312 billion. We start at Queen's Park, and we go across the Trans-Canada, all the way across the prairies, over the Rockies. We're going to get to the Pacific Ocean. We're going to go across the Pacific Ocean, putting out these $1 bills. Think of it, just picture it. We're going to go across the Gobi Desert, Europe, land at England, and go back across the Atlantic, and end up at Queen's Park. And we're going to do it 1,196 times. That is a lot of change for our grandchildren to either pick up or pay the interest on. So as Carolyn says, when you're in a hole, you better stop digging. And it's going to be painful, but we got to do it.
Go ahead, David.
And yet the Conservative plan will put us into a deeper hole, because if you're going to cut all your sources of revenue, you make that hole much deeper and much harder to be able to address your spending costs, or you're going to have to get into some pretty severe cuts. What we're proposing to do is to end the corporate tax giveaway. We want to return the tax rate, the corporate tax rate, up 1.5 points to 13%. It's been cut down over the years. By 13%, we'll still be among the lowest in Canada and the upper states, maintaining that advantage, as well as with our healthcare benefits. The corporate advantage is still in place. Large foreign corporations to qualify for the small business tax rates. We want to implement a surcharge, a new speculation tax, not just limited to foreign buyers, but to stop the artificial inflation of our housing prices and bring in some income.
Thank you.
I got more.
You got more? Oh, everybody has more. Yeah, I'm thinking the bubbles are all the way through.
So currently, our budget is balanced. We're actually in a state of surplus. We promise, it's true, our budget is balanced right now. You can go and look it up online. So the Liberal government promised to, I know Doug Ford tells you a lot of stuff, and it's better to listen to the facts. We have a balanced budget, we are in surplus, and the plan was to bring the budget to balance, which the Liberals achieved. They fulfilled that promise. Now going forward, we're looking at how to make those strategic investments so that we can continue to grow the economy. The economy doesn't grow by cutting, it grows by investing. Like I said, helping women get back out to work spurs the economy. Every dollar invested is $2.50 into the economy. We need to make those strategic investments, otherwise we're going to go backwards. What are we leaving to our children if we decimate all of the public services in the name of efficiencies and cutbacks? We can't keep giving money away to corporations like Rob Ford is saying.
Well, it's not Doug Ford who says that we're in a deficit situation. It's the Auditor General and the FAO. And you talked about our children and what we're leaving our children. And Don Drummond, who's an economist, who provided is that we're passing on more debt than assets to our children. And that is a real problem of intergenerational unfairness. And so that is what we need to look at. We collect tax dollars from hardworking Ontarians. We owe it to them to stop wasting those dollars and to do our best so that we can make the right investments, because that's what we all expect and it's what we deserve.
Here, here.
Growing up in the former East Bloc gave me a different insight, actually. I've seen firsthand what has happened when the government itself takes on too much and it does not manage it well. I've seen that. All those economies crumbled. In 1889, everything crumbled. Why? Because everything was owned by government, everything was a monopoly, no competition, no real competition was on the market. So I think you can draw your own conclusions.
Never mind the Auditor General and the FAO who talks about the budget not being balanced. I don't think you could find an accounting student anywhere who could pass an exam wherein he takes pension funds held in trust and declares that to be revenue. I just don't, if you think that's balanced, I just don't want any of that Kool-Aid. Thank you.
And for the final word on the questions, Dave.
And I'm actually very scared. I mean, Caroline's comment there about leaving our future generations more debt than assets. And both of their parties, they've scared me with selling off all of our public assets. The unannounced sale of Hydro One, previously the sale of Highway 407. We've got to maintain control of our assets for long-term planning and long-term return on those investments that we have, and pass on those returns to the next generations. Also, when we're talking about getting access to funds, the Paradise Papers recently revealed, if you think about those for a minute, how much tax avoidance has been going on. The Liberals have received the recommendations on how to proceed with recovering those uncollected taxes. They haven't acted on it. The NDP will.
Thank you.